You know how to do
little
all that?
Photoshop, yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Photoshop too?
Yeah, I have intro Photoshop because it's been a minute. I went to UCSD.
Oh, really?
I learned from there, but I used to work at the newspaper at Southwestern College.
Yeah.
I took some classes there, and that's where I learned everything to do, like all of the production stuff. That's when I
Yeah.
started interning with the Cholos.
What the hell?
The pro men's, the pro women, and then the kids Cholos Academy.
Yeah.
I did a lot of videos for them, and especially like the games. I'll record the goals, and then I'll take out the SD card,
Yeah.
give it to the person so they can upload to the website. Like,
Oh, what the
And
hell?
I did like commercials for the kids. Worked for Televisa.
Really? Man, how old are you?
I'm old. I'm 29.
Oh shit! I shouldn't even be asking this. But by the way, I like to wear headphones. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You want to wear the headphones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sure.
You don't have to.
Everyone wears headphones.
What's that?
I'm in it. I'm in it.
That way you can like be tuned in if you want to. You don't have to.
Oh, get away. These are your bloopers.
Can
Is
you?
this-
Oh, actually, here.
I'm like, I think one of them is longer. Okay, now I feel professional.
Can you hear yourself?
Hello? Yeah.
How would you do
Oh my
something?
gosh.
It sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
And I like to say to
Or
keep
should I
the.
put it on the other side?
Ah, that's fine. Y nomás, si puedes. You understand Spanish, right?
See?
Yeah. Okay.
Spanglish.
You can move the mic around. That way you can.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, let's put it a little bit lower para que no te tape la cara. Perfect. Ahí está.
That's... Hello.
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Does I sound fantastic?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, 29 years young.
What got you into everything you just mentioned you were doing?
I grew up with the media. I started modeling when I was 15. So just doing pageants, and then I bought a franchise of a pageant and did a modeling school, and then I taught girls how to model. And I just kind of been doing all that. But I've always loved like being in front of the camera. It's like
Really?
it's weird because one-on-one I'm very shy and like introverted when I don't really know people, but like if I'm on stage, like I transform into a character or something.
You know what? That's.
I did a lot of hosting, like in events and stuff. People would hire me, like other pageants or even like expos and stuff. They would hire me to come and do their events.
That's dope. You know what? One of the biggest things, or one of the main reasons why I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to do a podcast with her was because.
Yeah, please tell me.
Was because I saw that you were doing I forgot what it's called, but the
waves?
hosting
Yeah.
of the
In-game
soccer.
host.
Yeah. So how did that come about? By the way, we're shooting already.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Am I just looking at you, or are we looking at right?
Yeah. Unless you want to look at what the ceiling.
I'm gonna look at your music videos over
Yeah.
here. Actually, kind of going into like what I was doing like when I was in college, or what I did my career in. When one day my friend came over to visit because our friends from LA were there, and I was just kind of I was doing makeup and hair because that's one of my businesses that I do. And then she was kind of talking about how they're looking for someone to be like an in-game host. And I'm like, what's that? And she's like, oh, I work for the San Diego Wave. And I had heard about them, but I didn't really like know much about it other than it was the women's pro soccer team here in San Diego. And then she's like, oh yeah, like Alex Morgan, Naomi Gurama. And I was like, oh, okay, I know them. And I was like, I kind of like looked at, she's like, okay, this is kind of what you would be doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds really cool. So she's like, yeah, we're looking for somebody like young with a personality, and like it would be like bonus because you know Spanish, and they're trying to get into like the Spanish market, the Latino market, and they're going into communities most recently to kind of like venture out into the Latin community. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I was like thinking about it overnight, and I'm like, I think this would be really cool. And I was like, honestly, like I just believe in like alignment. I'm like, I had just been like thinking of that. I haven't really done anything with like my career in broadcast journalism, and I'm like, I've been really wanting to like tap in or kind of dip my toes again into all of that. I kind of like took a break from it, and and I felt like this was like the perfect opportunity. And then I really looked into it. I'm like, it's where Qualcomm Stadium used to be. It's a Snapdragon Stadium. And I'm like, that is like the ultimate stadium in San Diego.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just kind of like clicked, and I was like, oh my God, this would be like the most incredible opportunity, you know, even if I can just do like 1 game or 2 games, like it would be so great to like just kind of like get a feel for it again and see if like this is something that I actually like want to continue pursuing. So I told her, I'm like, she's like, you have any like a portfolio or something? And I was like, dude, honestly, like I haven't done it since college. Like I just kind of went full-time mommy and working, doing makeup on the weekends. And I'm like, but I have some old videos from college. And I was like, I showed them to her because they're on YouTube. And I was like, but don't judge me, because this is like actual reporting, and they wanted like loose, like personality. That's not reporting style, right? Reporting is like very like monotone, like, you know.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's boring, especially for like games, you know. So she's like, you know, we need something with more personality. And I thought of an idea, and I was like, how about if I do like a kind of like a demo reel for you guys? And I was like, just send me like a script or something that you want me to say, or that we would normally say like in the games, and like I'll do it in English and in Spanish, so you can see like, you know, like what I'm capable of doing. And she's like, okay. So then I sent her my demo reel, and I don't think anyone's really like given a demo reel before, like specific to the job, so I guess that kind of like made me stand out a little bit. But I honestly took a long time to kind of like record it and edit it and kind of send it in. And in the meantime, they said that they had hired Gina La Latina, the one that's in, she's a radio host. I think she's for 93.3.
Yeah,
Don't quote me.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, she's a radio host. She's been in the industry forever. I've met her to work with her before. She's amazing. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. She's like, you know, but she's not able to do like all of the games, so we would really want you to do like the games that she can't, or try them in Spanish, because I'm not sure like if she does any hosting in Spanish. So I was like, yeah, I'm totally down for it. I'm like, even just 1 game, it would be like the best opportunity, you know, to kind of get my name out there and kind of get a feel for it again. So they told me, okay, we have these 3 games for you to do, if you want to fill them in. And I was like, yeah, I'm available. Blocked off those days. And then the first game was just kind of, it was the first opening game of the season. They like sold out the stadium. It was like 30,000 plus people, but that was like my training. It was really cool. And I was
30,000
like, oh my
people
gosh.
As your training?
Yeah. No, well, I was like shadowing at that point.
Okay,
yeah. So I kind of got like a feel for like where we'll be walking to in the field, and mostly everything is done before the games, and then you go on halftime, and then like you're free to like watch the game with your friends, and you can they give us tickets to invite our friends and our family to come out and see us. So it's really cool. Like the environment is amazing. But the first game, I was just like, I felt the adrenaline again, and I was like, this is like what I love to do, you know. So I was able to do 3 games this season, and hopefully, you know, they hire me to do for next season, because their season ends in November.
Nice. Man, that's freaking dope.
It was really fun. And I think this was the first time that they had somebody during the game do Spanish and English at the same time. I know that there was another host, but I think that she would only do like content in Spanish for them for their social media. So I would have to like say a script, and as soon as I finished the English, I would snap into Spanish, the whole entire thing, trying to memorize it. It was crazy.
Are you pretty fluent with both?
I get a little bit nervous with Spanish, but I feel like I did pretty good. I think I only messed up 1 time. Because
I wanted to do the whole thing in Spanish, if you don't mind.
Just like putting on the spot.
Yeah. So, by the way, since Halloween is pretty much around the corner, you don't happen to have like a story of any paranormal stuff, right?
A paranormal stuff? Oh yeah.
Do you really?
Not the craziest stuff, but I feel like I can see stuff.
What the heck? Well, okay, because I'm gonna do the official intro. That way you can have a real intro into who you are and stuff. Yeah. Intro. So I'll do the Halloween one for this one, and then you can kind of give a quick, even though you kind of explained what you did for the whole soccer league, but I want to like a good introduction of who you are and stuff like that. That way we can take them along into your journey. Cool?
Yeah.
Hoy NOMAS Podcast. Halloween Special. Especial de Halloween.
Hey, I like that.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
We're introducing the Halloween special.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
So we don't know if it's going to be really, really spooky, but if you can share a little bit of that, a little bit down the storyline, but just don't forget. But if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, you kind of explained already how you got into the whole soccer league, but if you can, just give a rundown of who you are, what you do, and all that stuff.
Sure. Well, most recently, because I've done a million stuff. But most recently, my name is Darcy Aguayo, for those who don't know me. I'm a mompreneur, so I'm a full-time mama, and I have 2 businesses right now that keep me very busy. Plus, I also work at a law firm. One of my businesses, I do makeup and hair, bridal specialist. We're fully mobile, so we go to people's like Airbnbs or their hotels for their wedding day. That's kind of like our main niche, and sometimes we'll have like special event clients. But mostly what we serve are Friday, Saturday, Sunday for weddings. And then during the week, we'll take in any like engagements or photo shoots or any trials that we need to do. And then during the week, Monday through Friday. But it's part-time. I work at a law firm as a legal assistant. And most recently, on my daughter's birthday, on August 7th, I started a new business concept that it just kind of like happened, I guess, by accident, Like, I didn't mean for it to, like, actually turn into a full-blown business. The idea was just, like, I didn't want to spend, like, thousands on her birthday, which I did end up doing, but to not feel as guilty, I kind of like was like, okay, I'm just gonna buy the kids tables and chairs, and I'm gonna buy the bounce house, and I'm gonna buy like all these things and just like rent them out a few times. Plus she's only 3, so I'm like, I can use them again for her other birthday parties. So nice. In my head, I didn't feel as guilty for spending. And then I just kind of like had like a business name already, because I knew that I wanted to kind of venture into like a little girls spa, since we do makeup and hair already. It's just kind of like our expertise, and my daughter is in love with all that stuff, doing her nails and her makeup and her hair. So inspired by her, I just kind of already had the name. So I just made an Instagram and I started uploading everything from her party. And then everybody started asking me like, nice. Do you have this? Or like, can you do this for me? And like, my thing is like, say yes until you get it together, kind of nice. Like a fake it till you make it. So I was like, yes, I have that. Yes, I can do that. Yes. And I just like add to cart, nice. Express shipping.
That's freaking dope.
We've been booked since opening weekend, pretty much. Yeah. Week 0, I've been working every single weekend doing that. So it's been really amazing. So the business is kind of like event party rentals. We have like kids tables and chairs, bounce houses. Newly now we're getting into like doing the whole backdrops and balloons. And then next month we're receiving shipment for adult tables and chairs. So kind of like becoming a one-stop shop. And then nice. Plus the girls spa, which has been really great. People have been loving that. And so you get the exclusive. I haven't even posted this yet. So I have 2 new concepts. One of them is kind of like already, I guess, seen, but I kind of made a twist to it. And like the luxury movie nights, instead of doing like picnic style with like blankets and pillows, I'm like niching for kids, and I got like pleather recliners for them. Way. I have black, pink, and blue for the kids, so they can use that as like a movie night with the inflatable screen, or nice. They can do it like a game night for the boys if they want to nice. Connect their Xbox or their PlayStation.
Oh, that's freaking dope.
And then the first thing that's never been introduced, I don't think, in San Diego is kids bumper cars.
So, what the hell?
Yeah.
How are you guys gonna do that?
So cool. I already have the stuff. I just need to upload the content.
So wait,
it's 4 kids bumper cars.
Okay.
And mine are special not just because it's the first in San Diego that I know of. Mine are special because they're indoor outdoor, and they have like an off-road setting, so you can do like the side ones, like the side buttons to reverse and go forward, and that's like more indoor. Or I have like a foam mats that you can put for like the outdoor, or if you have like a grass area and you want the kids to not be enclosed, because I have an inflatable arena for them, so if they have like parties, so they're not bumping into the chairs, and people don't really want people crashing into them. Yeah. But for the outdoor, it's really cool because it has a 5th wheel. So you pop it out, and then you go into the steering wheel, and then you can use the brake pedal or the gas pedal and then reverse. Yeah. They're really cool. It reminds me of like, I don't know if you ever were going to like Fun for All growing up, or like on Broadway, I think they had like adult bumper cars.
Did they really?
For some period. I remember that's like key in like my childhood.
Well, Fun for All had the little race course, no? The one that you would just go all...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
and then also in the water.
Yeah, those lanchitas.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's dope.
So that's a new theme that I'm introducing to San Diego.
So what keeps you motivated into doing all these different endeavors?
My daughter. Having to, provide and I'm happy to, I want to give her the best life possible. I really don't like to hear when people like kind of frown upon others, either their siblings or their kids, that's saying like, oh, they have it easy. And it's just like, well, it's not meant to be hard, like my upbringing wasn't, the greatest, but I won't also say like I had a terrible childhood. It's just my parents did what they could, with what they knew. And I can't like bash on them for that. Like I know deep down like their intentions were always good for us and they tried to provide as much as they can, but now I'm like taking it upon myself to just kind of like create new concepts or new business ideas. I've always feel like I've been very entrepreneurial ever since I was young. I've been working since I was 15, so I feel like it's just kind of instilled in me to be like I guess in a way independent and be able to provide. And especially now, given the circumstances that I'm a single parent, well, I kind of leave it upon myself to try and provide as much as possible. And it's just everyone lives in peace. I don't have to worry or count on anybody else. If they're able to, then great. And if they're not, then I'm not going to sit around and be like, oh, what am I going to do? Because for a certain period of time, and I guess leading into the ayahuasca, you'll know why I really needed the ayahuasca because of that I was just kind of like, what am I going to do? How am I going to provide? Like, how am I going to be able to, raise a kid by myself when I wasn't used to paying anything?
Right. Wow. That's crazy. Did you get answers?
Oh my God. Yes. I got into ayahuasca like totally in shambles. I didn't want to live anymore. I wasn't going to do anything to myself. But I had no hope for life. I was so negative. I was complaining all the time. I was crying for 6 months straight. And when I tell you like 6 months straight, it was every single day. When I tried as best as I could that my daughter wouldn't see me cry. So as soon as she would fall asleep at night, like the tears wouldn't stop. It was just kind of like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? I've had my business, but, her dad would provide for us when we were together. So I relied on him to be able to stay at home and be with my daughter, during the week. 'Cause that was always really important to me, to be a mom and to be there for her and raise her and just kind of teach her everything, and for her to grow up with her mom and not be like, oh, my mom was always working. I didn't really want that, even though like I'm naturally a hustler and I love to work. Like I love to make my own money. It gives me like a lot of like empowerment and it makes me feel free, you know. But just when she was born, the idea was her first year I would be there with her during the week, but it kind of went into the 2.5 years. But I loved being with her.
Yeah.
But
if you don't mind me asking, why is it that you were crying every single day?
Because of the expenses that all of a sudden I was responsible for.
Oh, because at this point you and your partner split up. So it was a lot of load.
So from like the separation, I won't go into detail on that, but just out of respect for my daughter. It just like had me like crushed, just like a lot of like questioning of like, could I have done better? What could I have done more? Is it my fault? Like, and now my daughter is not going to have her family together, and that was always really important to me because my parents are divorced. So I was always, like the fairy tale, like, you have your whole life with your parents, and it just wasn't the case for us. We wanted completely different things, and at the end of the day, it's whatever is in the best interest of our daughter. So it was just best to separate, but it didn't make it any easier. It was just kind of like the whole image of like, wanting to get married and being married to the father of my child and kind of giving her that was kind of thrown out the door. And then all of a sudden having to provide like thousands of dollars that I wasn't used to. And I was crushed. I was like, I could barely take care of myself. And I would look at her sometimes and just be like, how am I going to take care of you? I literally could not get out of bed every single day. It was like a struggle, just kind of like trying to get up and finding that motivation. And when your daughter is telling you, "Mommy, I'm hungry," and it's just like, whew, it was the hardest thing. Is like 11 in the morning, sometimes 11:30, 12, and I was honestly barely making breakfast for her because she was like, "Mommy, I'm hungry," and I'm just like, "Okay, baby, I'm going," and I'm just like, "Okay, get your ass up, Darcy." Like, you know, like your daughter needs you. Get it together. Like, put on a smile, you know, and try and create normality, you know, in the chaos. And it took me a lot of reflection in those 6 months. And, you know, one of my best friends was the one that introduced me to ayahuasca. And he was just like, "I hate seeing you like this. Like, you don't deserve it. Like, you need to, like, get up, you know, like, get up, get dressed, like, do something for yourself. Like, you can't be living, like, depressed. You know, you have your whole life ahead of you. Like, you have so many things to do. You have great plans. And, like, you're a hustler. You know how to work, you know." And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to receive ayahuasca when I was just at that breaking point. Like, that was my rock bottom. That it was just like, I don't want to live tomorrow. Like, I would take sleeping pills. I would take anxiety pills. Like, I would force myself to sleep because otherwise I would just kind of like wake up in the middle of the night, just like crying or have nightmares. And it was not fun. So one day I accepted, you know, like, okay, it's time to make a change, you know, like, I'm tired of living like this. I had run through my savings at that point because I had a savings for a down payment for a house. And I was just pretty much kind of like living off of that and working a little bit on the weekends. Meanwhile, I kind of like got back up on my feet and was just like, okay, I'm almost out of my savings for my down payment on my house, which made me like more upset. Like, wow, like I was so close to having that down payment to getting a house for us too. And I ruined it by being sad, you know, and I had every reason to, but it's just like, when is enough going to be enough, you know?
And what do you say that was the wake up call? Like, you know what? Enough is enough. I need to snap out of it.
Yeah, because I was like, down to my last couple of thousand, and I was like, either I need to invest in a new business or I need to do something different. And also, like, I had heard of ayahuasca and I was like, I think I'm ready, you know, like it can't get any worse. If anything, it's gonna help me, even if it's just a little bit, you know. So I finally told my friend that I'm ready to receive and to go to ayahuasca, and it literally saved my life. Like, I probably would not be here right now if I didn't go to ayahuasca.
So let me ask you this. When you first heard of ayahuasca, what was your first, I guess, idea or thought process when you heard of ayahuasca, right? Because when I try to tell a lot of my friends that I know that they would benefit out of it, they're like, nah, I don't do that type of stuff, right? And I hate that answer, right? I hate that answer because
they're not open.
They're not open yet, right? And it's unfortunate because society or the system we've been living in, they've made us think of these type of things in that form, right?
Yeah.
How was your first time hearing of this?
They see it just like a drug, like another type of drug. I don't really know too much about drugs, but
yeah.
they see it as like something negative or like, I mean.
What would you say that was the first, I guess, reaction to it when you first heard of it, or you were pretty open to listen to it?
I just didn't think I needed it. I wasn't ready to receive it.
Yeah. And
it was not my time. I just think of, you know, divine timing, and it was my time when I finally received it. One of the biggest things also during that time that just kept crushing me was 4 months between when I went to ayahuasca and before that, 4 months. So 6 of those was from when I got separated, but 2 months in and up to the 6th month, 4 of my family members died.
Wow.
4. And it was just like one after the other, and they're all 4 cousins under the age of 36.
Wow.
Cousins. I mean, this is my blood. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And then after I had received ayahuasca, an uncle of mine passed away, and it was just so tragic. I was having nightmares. I was having so many regrets just like running through my mind before I went to ayahuasca, because I was like, one of my cousins that passed away, I had the urge to call him the week before he died, and that just kind of like stuck with me. Like, I kept like kicking myself about that, like, oh, you were so close to calling him, like you hadn't, like, you know, like reached out to him. And then another one of mine was at my sister's sweet 16, but I was doing the choreography of the vals and the sorpresa, and I was taking care of my daughter and like running around trying to host in the party. I remember he called me and he was like, hey, like, how are you? Like, I love to see you doing so good. And like, I was really happy to see him, you know, because he was doing like much better with his life. And, you know, I saw him happy with his partner and being like more present father. And I was, you know, really happy to see him. But I was actually on my way out to go and leave my daughter with her aunt so they can take her. And I was like, I'll be right back. So when I came back, I totally forgot. And I just like went to go say hi to some other friends. And that was it. I never saw him again.
Wow.
So it was just like, that killed me. Oh, just like thinking about it. It's just having so many regrets of like not reaching out and not thinking that we have another day. And that was just like, Darcy, like, you're so blessed, you know, like it's hard. Your circumstances are hard and you have every reason to be upset. And, you know, this is not your picture perfect life, but like you have another day. Yeah. You know, you have another opportunity. God gave you another chance to live today. Your daughter's healthy and you guys have a home. You have a car. You have the means to get up and get another job, you know, invest that last couple of thousands that you have and like make something of yourself. You know, it's time to like do something.
Right.
And yeah, that's when I literally changed my life like upside down. From that moment that I left to now, I've accomplished more things in at that point 4 months, but now it's like almost a year that I went to my ayahuasca ceremony, and I accomplished more things in this past like year than I did in 3 years. It's just like you, at least for me, in the experience that I had in ayahuasca, and you know, I can kind of share more about it, but it's just I learned so much.
So and you don't mind going into your ceremony, right?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Fine.
So before we go into your ceremony, let me ask you this. So you have that, I'm not sure if you want to call it a regret, right? But that instant that you weren't able to say bye to your cousin or whatever. It was your cousin, right? You said?
Yeah, for my cousins.
So since you kind of forgot and you went to go say bye or say hi to other people in that party or not, do you see life differently?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? How do you see it, right? Because the way I see it after my dad passed, right, I see life differently, that I try to call my mom more often, right? I try to, you know, the people that are very close to me, I try to like tell them that I love them, you know. Yeah. I think of death a little bit more, but I try to be more, I guess, open and vulnerable, that like, hey, you know what, I love you. And then I'm always thinking like, man, you know, I'm blessed to have them. Yeah. And like, for instance, and I talk about this at times that even for Teddy, right, my dog, right, he gets so hyper seeing me, right, seeing like all that unconditional love. And at times I'm like tired or things like that. So I try to give them that attention, because I'm like, fuck, tomorrow's not guaranteed, you know? Same thing with my girl. I always try to like, because as time goes by, your circle starts getting smaller and smaller, right? And it's those people that are sticking by your side that I'm learning to appreciate them more, you know? Yeah. Do you see that any, I guess, having effect into your life after all of those instances happened?
Yeah, it totally changed my perspective on like, my relationship with my mom hasn't always been like the greatest, or like even like people around me are just like, I would like judge them, or I don't know, like I couldn't get myself to understand them, or at least get past, you know, the way that they were sometimes. And that day that I got out of ayahuasca, I'm not an affectionate person. Like I show my love, or like in the love languages, I show my love by like acts of service or gifts. Gifts is my number one. So I'm very rarely will I be like, Dad, I love you, Mom, I love you, give hugs or whatever. And that day when I went to go pick up my daughter, because my mom watched her that day, she had no idea where I went and what I did. And I still feel like I had a little bit of the effects of like ayahuasca. Everything was still like very vivid. But what I learned and what I'll share is just like I learned that like we can't live with regret, you know, and we only regret the opportunities that we didn't take. and that we didn't take advantage of. So that includes our people, you know, like those close to us, and we can love them unconditionally, especially when it's our parents or like our siblings. I feel like I've created boundaries with people who are not good for me in my life and don't have the best intentions for me. But it's just kind of like accepting the situation and loving them from afar. Like, I love you and you're my cousin. I love you and you're my friend, or we were best friends forever. But it's just you no longer serve me, and that's okay. But in this instance, your family, your blood, it's like, especially if they're your parents, I have respect for them, you know? Like I said, like they did their best that they could. So I hugged my mom that day for the first time in years. She's always asking me like, oh, you never give me a hug or whatever. And I was like, I love you. And it was just like so crazy because I felt like I meant it, you know? Like, I know I love my mom. I know I love my dad, but it was just like going out of my comfort zone to be like, you know what, like this could be the last moment. And I even hugged my sister, and I don't do that. Like, ever since then, I won't say it's been perfect, but like at least I look at people like we're not forever, you know? And I feel like that kind of became my answer to a lot of things, that I was like, we're not here forever, you know? Like, we take it for granted so much that, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll call them tomorrow. I'll see them tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Like, no, like, don't leave for tomorrow what you could do today. At least send a message, send a little text thinking of you. I sent one today to Leslie, actually. I was like, I'm so sorry, Brian's girlfriend. Yeah. I was like, I'm you know, I've been thinking about you. Like, I want to see you and the girls. I'm like, I've honestly been like, you know, a little bit with my hands full with the jobs and with my daughter sick lately. But like, you know, like, let's see each other. I told her when I come back from Hawaii, Thursday or Friday. You know, you have to set the dates or else it never happens. So just kind of like those little check-ins, because you just never know also like where somebody is in their life. And if you can kind of check in on them, or just be like, hey, thinking of you, let me know, you know, if you ever need me, I'm here for you. Or like, I'm, you know, I'm not going to judge you, and, you know, I'm all ears, and, you know, you have a friend in me, you know, that goes a long way for a lot of people, because sometimes we feel like we're alone, like nobody understands us, kind of like when I was in my, you know, my depressive moment. Let's call it a little season, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, I look at people and time so different now. It's just every day is a gift, and just kind of having that gratitude attitude, I try to share a little bit whenever I can, just kind of like changing that mindset of like, instead of saying that I have to, say I get to go to school, I get to work, I get to provide, I get to, like in my case, wake up next to my daughter every day, I get to drop her off at daycare, I get to pick her up from daycare, I get to do all this stuff, when in my mentality at that time was like, why me, it was like a very victim mentality, like it's not fair, I have to do this for the baby, I have to get her ready, I have to take her shower, I have to cook for her every day, I have to, you know what I mean? It's just like very negative and like draining, you know? And I feel like I was kind of doing that to myself, when now I like to share like my circumstances, if anything, have gotten worse in some like areas of my life, but it's just my mentality of having like, now it's no longer a chore, now it's no longer an I get to kind of like feeling. Now it's like, sorry, not that I have to, now I say I get to do all of this stuff. And like, my daughter is the most important human being, like to me, like she makes life worth it. So I'm like, I need to see this as a blessing instead of like something that's hurting me or taking away from me. Because I'm like, if I wasn't with my daughter, if I was a single person, what would I be doing? I would probably be out drinking, honestly. I would be out with people who don't even care about me, or don't even know like my life, or don't even care about asking me like, hey, how are you? Like, no, really, like, how are you? How have you been? Like, you know, anything that I can help you with, or like, let me know. Very few people like that. So I'm just like, that's superficial life of like the whole partying and stuff. It's just not my thing, because I now value family and friends that have been there without like asking for anything in return, and that genuinely care to check in on me and my daughter so much, versus other things that I used to think that were important, like going out and having that freedom of like doing whatever you wanted.
Yeah, and you know what? It's crazy that, like you were saying, that when somebody says, "Hey, how are you doing?" "Oh, good." "Oh, okay," and that's it, right? Yeah. But it's
not genuine.
It's not genuine at all.
It's kind of like a habit.
Right, exactly. But at times it really does take, as you stated, "Hey, how are you really doing?" No, seriously, how are you doing? You know, nobody really takes the time. Nobody really, and you know what? It's sad and it's unfortunate at times. But the older I get, the more I experience that. Like I stated before, it just your circle starts getting smaller and smaller. I'm not sure if you're experiencing that yet.
Oh yeah.
And do you ever, I guess, question yourself, like, man, am I working too much? Am I like, I don't have friends anymore? Am I just following the right path?
I just have to do self check-ins with myself. It's just like, what are your priorities? I don't really believe in a work-life balance. It's just kind of like, what are your priorities? What's important to you right now?
Yeah.
And you have to do those constant check-ins all the time, because what matters to you right now probably won't matter to you in next month or in a few months, you know? So it's just kind of in this season of my life where I'm trying to become like financially stable and have, you know, get this business up and running. You know, that it was like an accidental blessing, you know, it was like something that I was looking for, but I didn't know what it was. I had actually asked Jose, I was like, you know what, like I'm like crushed, you know, like right now, like I don't know what to do, but I need to provide, you know, like, and I don't want to depend on anybody. Not that I'm like como orgullosa or whatever, but it's just my circumstance. I don't want to put myself in that place to steal my peace. So it was just kind of like, what can I do, kind of like, I felt like I was like asking God, like what can I do? Like, I'm a hustler, like I'm willing to work, I have some money to invest, but like, what can I do? And it's just kind of like that opportunity kind of fell on my lap, and it just kind of like happened, and I took it and I ran, and I was like, buy all this stuff and invest and throw into the business. So thank God, like, you know, it's been going and, you know, in my favor. But it was definitely not something that I was expecting in my life. But your mentality is going to change that, and your friendships are going to change too. I've had to cut so many people off that I was just like, when you become self-aware of the habits that you've had for a long time, it's why you create certain patterns in your life. And when you cut yourself out of that like victim mentality, which is so huge to me, because again, for the longest time, it was a very like, why me, poor me, they're lucky, they only have that because of this, or it was like such a hater mentality, and I hate myself for that. But it was just like, okay, if you're hating on them, then that means that you're inspired by them. You like what they're doing, or maybe you think that you can do that too. So then why don't you ask them? Why don't you make them your mentor? Why don't you see how they can help you kind of make those shortcuts and be like, hey, you know what? I had to do this to get here, and maybe you could just kind of do this, you know? You'll get there a lot faster if you make someone your mentor than if you do your enemy, you know? And I just kind of had to put my pride aside and make myself like, you know, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, asking people, or like, I've become in my head, people that I was very intimidated by. I've like become their number one fan. I'm commenting on their stuff all the time, but because I'm just like, reality check, Darcy, like, are you actually like a big hater because you don't like what they're doing, or you actually really love what they're doing and you wish you could be doing that, you know? So now I'm like, hey, like, I love your work, or I love what you're doing, or like, keep at it, whatever it is. Like, not for everybody, but it's just kind of getting into that, like, okay, they're not your enemy, they probably don't even know you exist, and you're over here being a silent hater. And I feel like sometimes, you know, some people can relate to that, just kind of like, you know, put your ego aside. People are just trying to do the best that they can, and if you reach out and you have a good intention of like, you know, like, how can we grow together, maybe you guys can be like business partners, you know, you just never know. But if you're kind of have that closed off mentality of like, everyone's against you, and you're like, I don't know, in your own world, you're gonna limit yourself.
I didn't know that those people existed, right? Because through social media, you know, you have the people that follow you, the people you follow back, right? And it was always like, you know, a few interactions here and there, but until some posts, a lot of our posts have reached quite a few people. And we've reached those people, like the haters, the trolls, like what the, like people that they have no idea who we are.
Yeah.
People are full of hate, man.
Yeah. It's really sad, you know, because they're just reflecting. Yeah. And it's like the things that I would think, now I'm just like, just think about really what you were actually trying to say. Yeah. That you're not capable, that you don't see yourself doing that. Yeah. Instead of doubting people how they got there, or that they're privileged, or whatever it is. It's just like I didn't see that in myself, that like positive factor, I guess. Yeah. And I limited myself. But once you kind of like, it's like unhappy people will always try and bring you down, and they're literally just reflecting everything that they think about themselves onto you. So when somebody's commenting, or if they're just like literally watching every single thing that you do, which I have a few of those people, it's just like, or they even copy you, you know, like they do it and they don't even tell you like, hey, you inspire me, you know. It goes a long way. Yeah. Hey, Angel, you inspire me. I love that you're doing a podcast. You think that you can teach me? And this part is genuine, but it's just like, you know, just an example. Like if you're watching someone, you're admiring what they're doing, then you're actually a fan. Yeah. You know, you're a big fan. So then see how they can help you. You know, if they can be your mentor, if you can pay them in any way, and like you guys can help each other out, and you can grow together, because you're gonna grow a lot faster with somebody that's already been in the field than if you try and create it on your own, or make your own path, or try and do your own research, because they've already hit all of like, you know, the obstacles along the way, and they can tell you, hey, you know what, I regret doing this, I wish I never did that. And that's like really important to kind of like put your ego aside, like I said, and just kind of like reevaluate why are you feeling this way, you know, and be honest with yourself. Right.
And you know what, that used to be like back in the days, it was the ancestors that used to teach the younger generation to, hey, do this, do that, you know. A lot of the lessons would be passed down through generation, but I feel like we've lost a lot of that now. Right. And now
everyone's like in competition, like with everybody, like like if everyone's your competition, and it's like, no. Like Elevate and Armando and
Pablo, right?
Pablo.
Yeah.
I love their slogan of like collaboration over competition. Yeah. And it's just like so real, you know.
Yeah, you know what? Because of this podcast, I've met a lot of dope people. Well, this is the first time we ever meet in person, and just hearing your story on how you got to what you're currently doing, it's freaking dope. Now I see it in a whole different perspective, because a lot of people just see the end result, right? Yeah. They just see the post and like, maybe this could be better, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe this, they could have done better here, you know? They see the end result, right? But they don't know the struggle that you've gone through just to get to that end result. And that is not the ending, but that's the current state that you're currently at, right? There obviously, you're going to learn as you go, right? But maybe you don't have the means, you know, financially, maybe you're not there. But obviously, you know that you can perfect the skill sets, but you're still in that learning curve that you can perfect that skill set. But a lot of people start judging as you're going through that journey, you know? And me listening to you now is just like, man, it's crazy. I value everything you're posting now on your social media a lot more. Like, wow, that's it's honestly
this is some being transparent, you know. Even like with my clients, it's like, hey, I just started this business in August. I'm still learning. Like they'll ask for things like for the rental business, like, I don't know, are you able to have your items in a park, or like, do you have your insurance or your whatever it is? And I'm like, hey, you know what, I actually just opened my business in August. Like I'm still kind of learning. I'm in the process of doing that, because, you know, I honestly don't know exactly how to get all of those things, but I'm gonna find a way, and it's important to me to have that for my clients and for their safety, and for mine too, legally. But just being open, you know, like you don't have to know everything. You can hire somebody that does. That's a big ego thing, you know. Everybody wants to do it themselves. Like, oh, I'm self-made on whatever. I'm like, absolutely not. I think my village all the time of my mentors and my family that helped me with my daughter. It's like, thank your village, man. Like, you would be nothing without a lot of people, because you didn't come to this world with any knowledge. Like, you've acquired it throughout time, and like, you giving somebody else credit is not going to minimize your shine.
Exactly.
You can give everybody credit, even if you're in the same field.
Yeah.
Trust me, you're going to grow so much faster.
Yeah.
So much faster. And I've proven it with this business. Like, I'm tagging all of the people that I work with, or my vendors, or if people ask me like, where do you get your stuff or whatever, like, I'm so happy to share, because subconsciously I know that they could be competition, right? Yeah. But I'm like, who am I to be like a person like, no, I'm not going to tell you like who my vendor is or where I get my stuff from, or like if I have some kind of format to like, hey, this is my price sheet, or you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are so shady with their prices, and I'm like, friends, like, save yourself some time and post your prices. I promise you, people will hit you up a lot more. Damn. Like, you're just trying to like, oh, I don't want people to like lowball or offer lower prices. Well, then they're gonna get a lower quality experience. You know what you bring to the table, and if you're secure in what you bring and you don't see other people as your competition, you're gonna grow so much faster, because those people are gonna admire you, and now they're gonna hire you as their mentor. You know, because they see you as take it as a compliment. If somebody's asking you, that means that you're doing something right, you know? Like me, even though I just started this in August, I have so many people asking me, where do you do that? How do you do that? Where can I get this or whatever? And it's just like, hey, here's a link. You know, here's a screenshot. This is how much it costs. I'm pricing it at this. I'm profiting this much. Or, you know, just being transparent and being like, you know, like we can collaborate, and instead of compete, you're going to grow so much faster. And I think that God has blessed me truly, because I have that mentality of like, let's be friends. You know, like, I know you're in this industry, or like I have Myra as one of my mentors. She's amazing. A&M events, luxury events. You know, she lended me her hand. She's like, hey girl, if I, you know, congratulations on your business. She's like, if you need anything, like, let me know. And I'm like, actually, yeah. I'm like, I know nothing about this business. I don't know how to price my stuff. Like, and I was like, can I take you out to lunch? Like, you know, like, I would really like, you know, like, pick at your brain and like, see, maybe we can work together. I'll give you a commission for like, if you refer me, you know what I mean? Like, how can I help you? Help me. You know? And then she's like, no, actually. And then we just kind of like brainstorming all these ideas. And it's like, now like we're like partners.
That's dope. You
know? And now she's like recommending me. And then there's other event people that started following me. And I was just like, all these big names, like they know who at least my brand. And I'm like, it's so crazy how much you can grow when you're open to collaboration and not seeing people as your competition. It's really beautiful.
Right. And I'm pretty sure you've probably dealt with this in the past. That even though if you give all the answers to people that are asking, right, only a very few percentage are actually going to follow through with it, right? Because it's happened endless amount of times that they're like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Or where do you get this and that? And I literally give them everything and they don't do it. They don't do it. You know what I mean? So I myself, I'm in the same page that I don't care sharing the knowledge, putting everything out there. Because at the end of the day, if they end up doing it, then they earned it, right? And it's been my experience that a lot of people just ask and they just don't follow through, right? Now, another thing you were stating was that at first when I started the podcast on my Instagram, I was only following back myself, right? It's like, you know what? Screw that. I'm building it and I'm not going to follow anybody. This is my baby, you know? But then I started realizing, you know what? It takes a village to make all of this happen. Look at my girl, Chelo, right now. She's freaking tired, right? But she's here.
She's here. She's a real one.
She's here behind the scenes helping me out. She helps me edit. Look at yourself. You didn't have to be here, but you came to my platform. So I'm making sure that I do follow back people, or I show appreciation to anybody that has shown any type of, I guess, support or help, or has contributed any way or form into my growth, right? Because it's not a one-man show at all. It's not a one-man show, and it takes a lot. And now I see things differently. I value all the people that have taken the time. Look at Ryan. He's a huge YouTuber, and he came over here and took the time to do a podcast with me of ayahuasca, right? And that's another reason why I like to mention ayahuasca again, or give a little bit of this platform to plant medicine. because we've received a lot of positive messages in that I feel almost like it's embedded. And I feel like a lot of people that do ayahuasca or plant medicine, they want to share it to the world, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, everybody needs to try this at least once in their life. Like don't let people tell you, like, don't let me tell you if it's good or bad. Try it for yourself. Just kind of like, I had a friend who would tell me about like movies. Like I would always ask like for opinions.
Yeah.
I would be like, what did you think about the movie? And they're like, and they told me, they're like, Darcy, don't ever ask me what I think about the movie. Go and watch it.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, well, I don't want to waste my time or my money, you know, like going to see something if it's crap. And they're like, if I think something is good, you might think it's bad, or vice versa. You know, go and see it for yourself and give your own opinion out of experience. Don't be talking out of your butt just because of he said, she said.
Exactly.
So I was like, oh, that really stuck with me in like everything now. Now I don't talk about things or people or experiences or anything when I haven't experienced it myself. If I haven't done it myself, if I haven't bought the product myself, like I just say, I tell them, like, you know, like totally transparent, like, hey, honestly, let's say like in makeup, like they'll ask me for my advice all the time, like, hey, what do you think about this product? And I could be like a know-it-all, right? Like I'd be like, oh yeah, I know every single product on the market, and try and be like, oh, I'm super professional. But sometimes I'm like, hey, you know what, honestly, I've never tried it. I've heard great things about it. If you have oily skin or you have like acne prone skin, you know, maybe you want to try out a little sample at Sephora and see how you like it for yourself. You know, I actually have dry skin, so I won't be able to tell you firsthand either way if I like it or not,
right?
Other than me trying it on my clients. And they're like, oh, okay, thank you for your advice. And like, I understand, I appreciate the honesty. And it's just like, you don't have to be a know-it-all, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just
being transparent in every way, even in your life. It's just, it goes a long way. Like nobody's perfect. And I think that more people are seeing real people being honest and transparent and like vulnerable. More people are attached to that because there's just like so much fake and filters and trying to be like, I have the best perfect life in the whole wide world. And that's not the right message, you know, because we're all struggling in one way or another. And people like to compare a lot, and I really don't like that. Like, your heart is going to be different than my heart, right? You can be like, in this case, of motherhood. People will be like, oh, what did you think about the newborn stage? And I'm like, I can say that it was the hardest thing, but somebody else is going to say it was the most magical thing, you know? Like, it's just like, I'm going to tell you, you know, it honestly gets hard internally, mentally. Like, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're learning how to take care of another human being, and it's like you're fully responsible for them. They're actually really good. They sleep all day pretty much until the night. But it's just kind of like, oh, somebody comes up and it's like, oh, wait till you get to their terrible twos. Just wait until they get into preschool. All the little just waits. And I'm just like, you're invalidating somebody else's experience based on your negative experiences. You know, like, don't kill that shine, or don't ruin that moment for them, or trying to invalidate, like, oh, you think the newborn stage is hard? Just wait until you get into this stage. It's like, now I tell people, hey, you know what, like, this stage for me was like this, and maybe, you know, like now my daughter is 3 and you're barely going through the newborn stage, and I'm like, I remember how hard that was. You know, just showing somebody solidarity, like, you know, your feelings are valid, and it's a really hard time when you're in it, you know. Maybe when you surpass that moment and you get to the next stage of your child's life, you're like, wow, maybe that wasn't so hard in this aspect. This one feels harder now. But hard is hard. That's what people don't understand. And it's like, just because you're suffering in a different way or in a different season of your life, people want to be like, oh, well, I suffer more, or this person has it worse than you. But pain is pain. Exactly. You know, just because somebody, like, if you experience the loss of your dad and you think nobody will ever match your pain, and I think that's the ultimate loss, you know, like, you don't expect your parents to pass before you. But what if somebody else comes around and they're like, hey, I lost my son, or you know what I mean? Like, and you're going to be like, oh, my loss is greater than yours. You know what I mean? Like, you can't compare. Pain is pain, and just being in solidarity with people like, hey, maybe I don't know exactly what you're going through, but, you know, I remember when I was going through a hard time, and it's like, I'm here if you need me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the most magical and the best thing that you can do for people.
Yeah, people are going to experience life through their perspective, right? Through their experiences and everything. So I totally agree with you.
They're conditioning, like, coming up, you know, their life.
So something that I don't even know if you know, Chelo, but you actually went to the same shaman that we went to. When you
I think it was I think I was watching your guys' podcast together.
Oh yeah. And she went to the same shaman
named Ricardo.
Yeah.
And like the experience of how you guys were describing it, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I messaged my friend and I'm like, hey, is it the shaman's name Ricardo? He's like, yeah, why? And I was like, then we were talking about like I think you sent me the address. I couldn't really remember exactly where it was. And then you sent me the address, and I was like, yes, I remember that address.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
It was like such a small world. I was
it
like,
really
that's
is
so crazy.
Yeah.
You know, that we went to the same place, and Ryan went there too.
Yeah. I told him about him, and he ended up going. Yeah.
The day that Ryan came was the day that I had originally told you that I was gonna come, which was even crazier.
Oh, really?
Because I was with him the day before.
Yeah.
He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go with Angel tomorrow to talk about, because we were talking about ayahuasca, because I talked about it to Leslie. She's like, wait, no way. She's like, I'm gonna call Ryan right now, and I'm like, what? And she's like, hey Ryan. She's like, guess what? My friend Darcy, she did ayahuasca, and she went to the place that you went to. I was just like, oh my god, that's so crazy. And then when I went to go drop her off at her house, Ryan was there, and he's like, oh, that's so crazy. He's like, yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna go with Angel to talk about my ayahuasca experience. And I was like, no freaking way. And I showed him my phone. I was like, I was supposed to go tomorrow.
It's crazy.
So just how everything always like aligns. It's just like you think that everything happens for you. It's just so mad. Like your life like just becomes so magical. Like everything is like a blessing and an opportunity.
Right.
Like, wow, this happened in alignment to this now because I believe it.
Right. And I feel there's no mistakes in life, right? No. Everything happens for a reason. And
even the hardest things, it's people will ask me like, oh, people will actually know my life and what I've been through. I have PTSD of this other thing that I can't really talk about, but I mean, up to this day, I have horrible nightmares, reliving the feeling every single night, and it's crazy. But it's just like you would never know, and only those that really know you can really identify. Like, oh wow, like this person has changed their outlook. Even when I realized that I had PTSD, I was like, holy crap! I like broke down, like just like that. My trauma had become so deep. But then I told myself, I didn't let myself cry for more than one day. I was like, you know what? I have PTSD nightmares. And I said, but I don't accept them. Like, I won't let that define, you know, who Darcy is or the person that I am. So now I expect them. I say, I'm gonna have some type of nightmare reenacting my trauma. And I'm going to feel it, and it's okay. Like, I'm okay. Like, nothing is actually going to happen to me. Like, when I wake up in the morning, like, I might be scared or I might be, like, in panic or whatever it is. But then I'm going to tell myself, you know what? Like, you're in your room. You're safe. And, like, nothing can hurt you. And you're fine, you know? It was just a dream. So I just kind of, like, changed my outlook of, like, you know what? Like, a quote that I shared today, actually, coincidentally, this is like, you're not what happens to you, you're how you react to it. So now I say, like, actually nobody knows this, so it's kind of private, but I'm happy to share if anybody can identify. Just I have PTSD nightmares of the biggest trauma of my life that I lived this year, and I just kind of accepted them as they are, but I don't accept them in my life and in my being, and that's been a game changer. Because I could be terrified, you know. I used to be like, I'm scared to go to sleep. I already know I'm gonna live this again, but I'm just like, no, you know what? Like, it can't hurt me, you know. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be okay, and I'm gonna wake up and that's a blessing. You know.
If you don't mind me asking, what is a PTSD nightmare?
Sometimes people relive their most traumatic event. Oh. So they will actually see it. They like a third person. They will see it. In my case, it's I I experience the feelings, which I feel is stronger.
Wow.
So I experience the feelings of being trapped, of, being hurt and all of these things. It's like gets too much, but I experience in different nightmares. Every night is something different, but it's the same feeling of like being trapped and being hurt, and like that I'm gonna die, and like, that I'm in danger and that I'm not safe, and I wake up at night and I don't have anywhere to run to. That's the feeling that I wake up to, and it's just like in panic, like I can't run away, and it's really hard because it happens every night, but now I'm just aware of it, and I don't let it hurt me anymore like it used to the first couple of times that I was experiencing it.
Every night it happens?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's recent, so I've read it kind of into it that it could last maybe like a year or two. The nightmares. I think I need another ayahuasca. Can surrender, but I already mentioned to my friend that I'm ready to receive God and to surrender my life to Him, and that's kind of like at the point of my life where I am right now, and I'm happy to kind of make changes in my life instead of like, having that victim mentality that everything happens to me, or like, why did this happen to me, or whatever it is. Just kind of like I surrender my hardships, and I'm gonna put my life into God, and hopefully, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to be able to live at peace again and not have these feelings of PTSD. And I'm gonna defy all odds if they say it's gonna be forever. Some people have PTSD, like when they're in the military, and they see people passing away, or just the traumatic events in their life. They have PTSD nightmares every night of their life.
Wow. Like
forever. And I don't accept that as my truth. So I know that soon, claiming that by the end of the year I will be good again.
That's good.
But either way, it doesn't affect me like it used to.
Nice. And that's crazy. You know what? That's the first time I ever hear of that. And I can't even...
It's really hard to admit, because part of me will feel like people will think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Admitting like that I have a PTSD trauma, but
you know what?
It is what it is.
Yeah, it goes back to being close-minded, right? Because that's your reality.
Yeah.
Who can say that you're wrong by feeling that way? Because that's really what you're experiencing.
I would rather be transparent, and even like with the whole separation and everything that I've been through, I've tried my best to be like, like I'm really going through a hard time, or I didn't have the best day. Yesterday I posted I did not have the best day. You know what I mean? Like, you just because you're an optimistic person doesn't mean that you're always going to be happy,
right.
And I think that people can confuse that a lot, or they'll tell me like, I really admire you. You're always so happy. You're always so positive. And it's just like, if you only knew exactly what I've been through, you would be like, how the heck are you like so like optimistic, or like, trying to see the good in everything, because I could really not be here today.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? I don't want to say like, for the longest I said that I had like a positive mentality, but I've realized that it's better to say you have a realistic mentality.
Yeah.
Knowing that, I guess being realistic of a certain circumstance, like let's say of my family members passing away. What's the reality? People are going to die, and we don't have control over that. So just accepting that one day we're all going to die, and it's just a part of life. And if you accept, the experiences and the beautiful relationship that you had with that person, and you take it as something good in your heart, and you accept, like I'm going to keep their memory alive by talking about them, and what I learned from them, then that's all that I can do. That's all I have control over right now. And that's the reality. Not being like, I feel like the positive mindset could be a little bit negative, because you're invalidating people's feelings. Like, oh, don't be crying. Like, you need to be positive. You need to think like, there's worse things happening. You know what I mean? Like, you're invalidating somebody's feeling. Like I said, pain is pain. So you know what? Like, I'm really sorry somebody, really close to you passed away. I really hope that you remember them forever, and you keep them in your heart, and just accept that on unfortunately, it's part of life, and it can happen to any of us. You know, it could be tomorrow, and I won't be here. But if somebody has a different perspective on that, and just being realistic with little circumstances in their life, I feel like they can really change their mentality, and just kind of how long it takes them to get over a really hard time in their life.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you don't mind me asking, when you went to the shaman's location, can you talk about how, because you've only done it once, right? So how was your experience? You got there.
I'm ready to do it again, but
really, I feel like I want to again. Yeah. You feel like doing it again, babe, or no?
Yeah, probably by the end of the year.
Yeah, I feel like more than likely I want to do it again.
I was gonna go actually with Ryan. He went to Ohio recently, and I think in September, somewhere around there. And I was gonna go, but I had a wedding that I couldn't cancel, and I had already done a trial for that person, so it's just like, but I really wanted to go because it was just like really cool, and just kind of like the ceremony, how they run the whole thing seems really nice, and I'm like, well, next time when it's my time,
exactly,
I'll get to it.
I feel like I want to do it again before the year ends. Hopefully I'm able to do it.
Be nice way to end the year and kind of bring in the new year on a better term. But
so the reason
Ayahuasca.
so the reason why I ask is because I've shared my experience, Chela has shared her experience, Ryan has shared endless amounts of different situations on his but I always like to share other people's experiences. Why? Because maybe you experienced a whole different side that I've never even heard of, right? And somebody that's never done it before. I just heard a noise.
Hello, Mother Ayahuasca.
Seriously. But I would just wonder, okay, you got there, you took the tea, first they give you the rundown, right? If it's your first time, you take the tea. Once it started kicking in, then what happened? What was your experience?
Well, first of all, I did not listen, and I didn't follow the rules of the prep.
Okay.
I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened. Like I said, I was taking sleeping pills during that time to just fall asleep, because I would just be crying uncontrollably, and I wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't, maybe like 2 hours, 3 hours a night. So I didn't think of it as a drug, like when I was taking it.
Right.
And then that's the day before ayahuasca, I knew that I couldn't eat red meat or meat. And I went to go get some food with some friends, and then my friend at her restaurant, she's like, oh, we have some adobada tacos. They're really good. Like, it's a new thing, like, at our restaurant. Like, I got you, And I was like, oh, like, subconsciously, I felt like I shouldn't be eating it, But I thought I was just, like, in my little healthy girl mode. And I was like, it's fine. One taco will be fine.
Yeah.
And then I had it and was like, dude, this is so good. I got another one. Not thinking it's freaking red meat. And I was like,
yeah.
And then when I went to ayahuasca, it took me an hour and a half for it to kick in.
Wow.
So long. Everybody was like, I was like trying not to pay attention to other people around me, like respecting their privacy and stuff. But I was just like laying down with my eyes closed, and I'm just like, when is this thing gonna kick in? Is it even gonna kick in? And I was like, I think I'm gonna have to take another dose. Like, it's not gonna work for me, or maybe I'm not a believer. And I'm just like, I just kept like making myself a million questions. And
the same thoughts all came to me as well.
I realized later, I was like, dang it, I did it to myself. I had a freaking sleeping pill, and then I had red meat, and I was like, ugh. Another friend of mine kicks in like 15 minutes.
Question, did you take 2 shots?
No, I only took one.
Every time
I was about to take the second one right before it hit me, and thankfully I waited, because right when he was going around to like do that, that's when I started experiencing ayahuasca. The first thing that I remember was like, I didn't fully surrender.
Okay.
Yet. So like I remember closing my eyes, and then I just saw like I was like in space. It was like black, and there's like a bunch of stars, and I feel like I'm just like zooming through like space, like in third person or what do you want to call it. And I'm just like, okay, this is weird. And then I started seeing like objects like coming towards me, and I was like, oh shoot. And I was like, it's kicking in. I was like, okay, I don't need the second dose. And then he was like, okay, you guys, I could hear like, I'm in it. in the dream, but I can still hear like, oh, like if you guys need another one, like I'm passing it around, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. And I was like, okay, just kind of like talking to myself, I'm like, I need to surrender, because I started seeing hands coming towards me. That was like one of the biggest things that I started seeing, like a bunch of hands kind of like reaching towards me, and I'm like, to everything I was like, what does this mean, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to surrender. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm going to be safe. Like, if I vomit, if I had to go to the bathroom, like, whatever it is, just like, this is what I came for, you know? Like, there's no other chance, because I was already so low. And I surrendered. And with the music, it would change, like, every feeling that I had according to the song that I was listening to. And it's just like, there was one that resonated with me of my cousin's passing, because when I would post about their passing, like honoring their life, I would post a song like the I Hope You Dance, and he played that song, and I just started like bawling. Like it was like a trigger. So I learned that my purging was crying. I didn't throw up. I didn't have to use the restroom. I purged by crying, and I cried a lot. I cried the whole time. When it finally hit me, and that song like really hit me, and it was just, I started like seeing them. So first I saw one of my cousins, Janelle, and unfortunately she didn't look like too happy, because she had a son that her son ended up going with her dad that lived, and this is like in real life, he had to end up going with his dad that was abusive. And she didn't really trust. And then I was like, is he going to be okay? And she's like, yes. Like, she wasn't too happy that he was going with him, but nobody else could take care of him, So that like crushed me. And I was like, she says like, he's going to be okay. And then that she's like going to be watching over him. But like kind of deep down, like she wasn't really like too convinced or like happy that her son had to go with his dad. And then I saw my cousin Juan. He was the most recent of my cousins that had passed away in those 4 months, and he died in a motorcycle accident. He used to ride motorcycles, and I just remember seeing him like on the end of his bike, and he was just like looking down, and he was smiling, and I was like, are you okay? And he was like, yes. And then I was like, is your son gonna be okay? Because he has he actually had 2 kids. One of them is his blood son, the other one by marriage. And he said, yeah, they're going to be okay. And, I felt like he went in peace. And he was the one that I was supposed to call the week before he passed. And then my other cousin, Rudy, I saw him, and I was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I started telling him, like, I'm so sorry. Like I really wanted to say, like, bye to you, like, and I really regret it. And in the dream, he told me, he's like, you know what, don't worry about it. He's like, I'm okay. He's like, just tell our family that we need to stop fighting. Because at that point, my mom's side was fighting with each other, just like for the dumbest things, and their siblings. And I was like, he's like, just, you don't know who's next. And he's like, just tell everybody like to hug one another, because you never know when it's the last time. And I was like, oh my God. And I hugged him like so tight in my dream. And it was like what I really needed, because I wanted to know, like, like that I was forgiven for not having that closure of like saying bye to him, because I never came back from dropping off my daughter. And it was the closure that I needed for him, and just kind of taking that message. And at his ceremony, he was the last one that had passed away right before I went to Ayahuasca. And we went to his like entierro, and he told me that I needed to talk, like when I was there. Like he told me, he's like, you need to get up and you need to tell them what I told you.
No way.
And I was like, because I'm not like, at that point, like I was just kind of like, it's too much. People are gonna think I'm crazy. Like how did I talk to him? Like how am I gonna tell them I went to Ayahuasca? Like, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, ni modo que me pare enfrente del padre y voy a decir, mira que me tomé esto y me dijo mi primo. Like, so I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. And then he's like, you need to do it. And I was like, ugh. The whole time I was just like, whoo, and I was like, okay. And then I talked to in one of like the intermissions, I talked to the padre, and he's like, oh, like you need to use the restroom or whatever. And then I was like, hi, like, can I talk, like at the end? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So my sister was like, what did you tell him? And I was like, that I'm going to say something at the end. Yeah. So then he goes, okay, like, oh, if anyone wants to say some closing words, nobody stood up. Oh. And I was like, dang it, Rudy. And I was like, that's so disrespectful. Nobody wants to talk. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I had already told him. And then he was like kind of like looking for me, the pastor. And so like, I was like, okay, fine, I'll be the one. So then I go up and I think I said it in English, because I was like, oh, I feel more comfortable speaking in English. And I was like, I just called it a dream. And, ayahuasca is like a dream. So I said, I had a dream and I saw Rudy. And he said, like that he loves his daughter and that she's going to be okay. He's going to be watching over her. And I was like, and he really wanted me to tell you guys that he doesn't want you fighting anymore. And it's not worth it, especially your family. And he wants you to know that you just never know when it's your last day, or when it's someone close to you is their last day. And you don't want to live with that regret, And I just kind of share that. It's just like, I saw a lot of people just like bawling. It's just like, It's so dumb. To be fighting, especially with your own blood, for something that it's not really worth it, I'm just like, if it's your sisters or if whatever it is, it's like, life's too short for you to be fighting about something that won't matter in 5 years. So I shared it, and a lot of people were like, thank you for saying that. We really needed to hear that. Like and I know that it wasn't you, because me in that setting, like in an intimate setting, talking about like my feelings, I'm not very open, and then like I get really nervous and I start shaking. So my sister was like, you nailed that, like you did such a great job. She's like, I know that was Rudy speaking through you. Like it wasn't you, it was Rudy. And I was like, it was. And I really felt that, like that it was him. And somebody made a comment like, oh, like, that's not real, that ayahuasca is not real or something like that. And I was like, I don't care what you think. And I was like, I needed to say that. And I said it. And I would have regretted so much not taking the opportunity to speak up about something that he told me in my dream, because it was really important and it was relevant. And there's no regret in saying to hug somebody a little bit tighter right before they leave, because you just never know. And that day I hugged everybody and I told everybody, I love you. Like I hugged them with like all my mind, people that I haven't, like uncles that I haven't seen in a long time, or cousins that I'm never affectionate with. I'm just like, I love you, like you matter, and telling his daughter like he loves you so much. And like I saw him and he said that you're gonna be okay and he's gonna be watching over you. It's just like, thank you, I appreciate it. So it was like really nice to experience that part. But one of like the most like impactful, I guess, was healing my traumas that I had been through. And my angels, call them my angels, they walked me through everything that had traumatized me throughout my life, and especially, in the years before ayahuasca. Like, I was so scared because my angels were holding my hand and like walking me to, like, let's say I'm walking into a room to see exactly what traumatized me.
No way.
I had to see the physical, the emotional, the everything. I had to relive it. And I was like, I don't want to see that. I'm trying to move past it. Like, I don't want to remember, And they're like, you have to trust me. Stop holding on to all of this pain. You don't need it. Give it to me. And they're like, but you need to see what happened so that you can let it go, because you haven't been wanting to confront it. And I'm just like, whew. And I was like, okay, I trust you. So the first one, I saw the reenactment. I saw myself, getting hurt, whatever it was. And I surrendered, and like I surrendered my pain. I literally felt like my chest a little bit lighter. Every single scenario that I had to relive, I was lighter and lighter and lighter, until like at the end part, I had a few questions for like some people in my life, and I just kept asking, like, are they gonna be okay? Like, I'm worried about them. Like, are they gonna be all right? And my angels, Mother Ayahuasca, were like, they're going to be okay. And one of the last things that I saw was that I was getting married and that my daughter was at my wedding. That part always gets me.
Wow.
And she looked like she was like 4, you know, and that was really important to me.
Wow.
Because I always wondered if I would be able to, you know, find somebody that would also care for her and that, you know, everything would be okay with her dad. It wasn't him. I didn't see, you know, him, that it was him that I was getting married to, but he was happy for us that I was getting married, and she looked like she was like 4. So I was like, wow. And it was what I needed to see. Yeah. Because it had me like very down about, like I said, about having that image of not having that family for her. It was the closure that I needed, and it just kind of like gave me hope that I would find that one day, and I believe it, you know, and I felt that, and I just thank like Mother Ayahuasca for taking away all of my pain that I had, because I was really suffering, and like I said, I purged so much. And Ricardo actually, my friend, waited for me the whole ceremony, like the whole like 6 hours.
Wow.
And he's like, I'll be here, like if you need me, like if you want to throw up or you're scared or whatever, like I'll wait for you, you know, I'll be right here in the car. And like I just in the back of my mind, I knew that I was, you know, could rely on him, that he would be waiting for me, like no matter what,
that you were safe.
And Ricardo, when I left the ceremony at the end, my friend was like, Ricardo came out and he said, because he tried like take care of my friend, like when we walked in, he's like, you know, she's like really depressed, and like really, he's like, I could feel it. Like when I hugged him, I was just like, I felt like a walking zombie, like every day. And he felt that, you know, like he read me, and then he goes, he makes a comment about one of my experiences, and then he says, yeah. And he's like, well, she's really fighting that in there. And he's like, but she's going to be okay. And then he's like, I know. You know, I just want her to know that, you know. And that was in the middle of the ceremony. Wow. And he knew nothing about me. But he hit it on the nail of what exactly I was, like, fighting. And I was like, holy moly. It was crazy. And then at the end, his wife was speaking directly like to me. She was talking about like her experience. And
when you say the wife, because she took ayahuasca as well?
No, she came in at the end to kind of in the discussion that we had at the end, so you know everybody was kind of like done, I guess. And then we kind of gathered around. Ricardo like brought out some fruit and like some little snacks to kind of like get out of it. And everybody was kind of like sharing it. And again, I was like I'm always like very nervous to talk about like my feelings. Like I'm a very reserved person in that way. Been working on it. But my heart was beating the whole time. And like, then she started talking, and then she's like, you know what? Like before ayahuasca, I was in this, I lived this, and I won't talk about it in detail because I don't want to, you know, share too much. But she was just like, you know, like, and it saved me, and now my life is completely different. And like she just like gave me hope. And I knew that she was talking like directly to me, like she was literally looking at me. And my friend was like, you know, he's like, I always seen so much in Darcy, and it's just that she just holds everything in. Like she holds in her feelings, and she just hurts herself so much by not wanting to bother people or by not talk about her emotions. And like she's really hurting herself, you know. He's like, she's depressed, she's anxious, like she's never living in the moment. Like he said that, and it was just like, whew. And I was like, whoa. And then she said, you know what? She's like, you're a ticking bomb waiting to explode. She said, you need to talk about things that are hurting you, or that, you know, you think that you're going to bother someone, you're not. She's like, you need to share these things. Like, you need to be open. Because my friend would be like, what's wrong? Or like, why are you sad? Or why are you depressed? Or why are you anxious? And I wouldn't tell anything. Because I didn't want to be a negative person. Like, I didn't want to feel like that, like, black cloud like walking around, and I'm like raining on people's parades, like, so that's why I would just stay alone inside the house, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't answer anybody. I didn't want to go anywhere because I felt like I had nothing good to say, like other than complain. And she's like, you're gonna make yourself sick. And she's like, you need to learn to be present. And this last part was like, this is what changed my whole entire life, like since then. And what I took the most from ayahuasca was, she's like, look, Darcy, she's like, you're depressed because you're living in the past. And she's like, and you're anxious because you're living in the future. She's like, but I promise you that when you start living in the present, that's when you truly start to live. She's like, when you're present, nothing else matters. You're just grateful to be here. You're listening, you're paying attention, you literally nothing else matters. Nothing that's going on in your life matters because you're not thinking about the future. You're here. And then she's like, when you learn to like master that, you're going to be so happy. Just being so grateful to be alive, to be here. And that just like the Rosa de Guadalupe, like that was my Rosa de Guadalupe moment, I swear. I was like, it literally hit a switch in my head and in my heart. And I was like if it was so simple, I was like, you're right. Like, you're right. I had an epiphany, a realization. I don't know, but it was literally what I needed, because I was like in intense depression, and I didn't want to live. And I was so anxious for the future, like the what ifs, the could haves, the should haves, the would haves. And I was just like worrying all the time, and I didn't have to. And it's just like, okay, well, what can I do now? How can I change my life right now? What do I have control of right now? That's how I can learn to ground myself and be present. And that was like a habit that I had to kind of like, instill in myself, because we're so conditioned for a long time. If you have that like depressive like way of being, or like if you have like an anxious personality, I just thought it was a part of me. I thought that's just I'm defected, and that's just how I was born, but it's just like, you have a choice every single day. Are you going to make it a good one, or are you going to dwell, or are you going to be anxious about something that you can't control? And it's just like, okay, I learned if I cannot control something, then I need to let it go. I need to accept it, and I need to let it go, because it's just gonna harm me. Like I'm only hurting myself. That's the biggest thing that I learned from ayahuasca. And shortly after, I went with her. She did a chakra reading. My friend was like, oh, like she can heal your chakras, and I was like, okay. And I was like, you can heal me? And I was already like open. I was after ayahuasca, and I'm like, this is like, el moño, and like the finishing touch,
like
and in the present,
right?
there was a cherry on top. I'm like, with this, I'm golden. I'm gonna be super happy, because I had already like felt like a complete change in me since I went to ayahuasca. But it was just like really easy to kind of start feeling like, oh, but what? Oh, but wait. Oh, but look at what I have been through. It's just like it's a habit, and you have to identify it, and you have to become aware of it, so you can train your mind to think differently, So then I went to the chakra reading, and it ended up just being a reading. She said, your chakras, like she read me from my toes to my head. Every single part of my body, there was something wrong with me.
Wow.
Especially my uterus. And she was like, your chakras are not even like bad, they're backwards. And she's like, you're hurting yourself. And she's like, you're gonna make yourself sick, like I told you in the ceremony. And she's like, you worry a lot, huh? And like, you're very anxious, and you hold everything in. And she started telling me about my relationship with my family, with my personal life, with my daughter. She's like, you're not comfortable in your body, huh? And then she's like, I'm not telling that you're like fat. And she's like, you like after the baby, you don't feel like you're the same. And I was like, no, like I love myself, but it's just like, I wish I was like fitter, or like whatever it is. Like I don't feel like the old Darcy, I always compared myself to the old before my baby. Everything was like, oh, but before I used to do this, but before I used to do that. And it's like you hurt yourself comparing yourself to a period of your life that's not going to come back. You know, I'm never going to have that body, and I'm not going to, but I can be a different and reinvented version of that Darcy. Wow. You know, stop trying to go to the past. That's part of being depressed. Like, stop talking about your accomplishments from the past. And I just kind of had to like learn, like, you're right. Like I was always being like, oh, but I used to do this and I used to do that. And I would like praise myself, like in that way to try and make myself feel better for like, I'm not where I want to be right now, but do you know what I used to do? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's so crazy how much I would rely on the old Darcy to kind of elevate my self-esteem in the present. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm never going to be that Darcy ever. Like, I'm going to be a better version of her, and I'm going to work out, and I'm going to do whatever it is in my power and that I can control to be the best version mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, like in every aspect of my life, because I can take control of my life because it's necessary. And we need to be the pioneers of our life and not be like, oh, I don't know, let's see where we can go. And in that session, she was like, you know what, Darcy? She's like, I can align your chakras. She's like, but I can tell you that you would probably do a better job. And she's like, you need to do that. And she said, I need you to start working out. And she's like, I need you to find a hobby that you really like. And I was like, I used to do jiu-jitsu all the time, and I would work out every day, and like I used to do all these things, and like I just like lit up, you know, just talking about the things that actually like made me happy. And she's like, you need to start finding the time to like do those things that make you happy. She's like, but I can promise you that out of all of this, like when you start working out, you're going to start feeling better. And I was like, oh my God, that cured me. And then about my uterus, it was so crazy because she predicted something that I was just about to experience. She said, your uterus is really bad. She said, your stress is causing you to have inflammation in your belly. You're having inflammation in your uterus. And I actually, when my daughter was born, they discovered that I have a bicornuate uterus, which is abnormal uterus. Instead of being like a diamond, it was like in a heart shape, like two rams. And so my daughter was only growing on one side. And she didn't know that. She doesn't know anything about my life.
Right.
And she was like, there's something wrong with your uterus. And I told her on that part. And then also like, I had been to the doctor, now that I remember. This was one of the biggest things. And I was like, I've been to doctors in TJ, in San Diego, all over the county. I've been to like 6 doctors at that point. I was like, my stomach really hurts. It really hurts. Like I feel like I have like when I used to get ovarian cysts, they would be just so painful, and I would get really bloated, and only one side would hurt. And I was like, what if I have cancer? Like, what if like I have something like really bad? Because I would go to emergency room, I would go to urgent care, I would go everywhere because it was just so excruciating at that point. And I'm a really strong person. Like, I can tolerate a lot of pain. But at that point, I was just so devastated. Like, I would even share about it on my social media. Like, please, somebody help me. Like where can I go? I need a specialist about like my lower abdomen. It really hurts. It really hurts. Like, I was suffering every day. And then she told me, again, she doesn't know nothing about my life. She doesn't even know my name. She's like, your stress, because you're stressing about everything. She's like, you're causing yourself this discomfort in your stomach, and the bloating and the pain in your uterus. Wow. And I was like, she's like, you're hurting yourself. She's like, you're going to give yourself ovarian cancer. Wow. She told me that. And I was like, what? And I was like, who are you to tell me, you know? And she's like, you need to stop stressing. You need to work out. And she's like, and you need to be present. And I was like, okay. And then she's like, again, I can align your chakras, but I think you would benefit more from doing it. So since then, I was like, I'm hurting myself. I'm doing this to myself. And it was just like a click, like, I need to get it together. I need to take control of my life. And ever since then, I manifested, and I've had my dream house. I got my dream job doing I think I got it like in January. So the chakra reading, I had it in December. And then in late December, I got my dream house. I manifested every single corner in that house, and I risked it all. I put in my 30 days not knowing where I was going to go. Wow. And it's just the craziest thing. I had very little money left. I was like, I want a 1-story house. I want it to be renovated.
Yeah.
I want the garage. I want a big backyard for my daughter. I want a bigger living room. I want to have like, new flooring and like everything, every corner in that house. I manifested, and was 2 weeks out from moving out, and I was like, what did I do? And I was like, I don't even have a house. I was like, me and my daughter are gonna be in the streets, not literally, because I have my sisters. They're like, you can sleep with me in my house. And I was like, I don't want to put my things in the storage. Christmas is coming up. And I was like, I dream of waking up Christmas morning in my new house and having a tree for my daughter and her opening her gifts. That's magical. Like kids look forward to that, even though she's only 3, like, that's something special that I want to, because I realized I need to create traditions for her, you know?
You didn't want to take that away from her.
Yeah, and I was like, it's not how it's supposed to be. I just kept being like, it's not how it's supposed to be. Every single day I was looking for the house, looking for my house. I knew exactly what it was going to look for, and I found it. And I found it a week before I was supposed to move out. And it was days before Christmas. And I was like, holy moly, I have 5 days to move out and create this magical experience. Let's do it.
Wow.
So I have my freaking village, so incredible. My friends, my family, like they all helped me move out. And I think I moved out in like a day and a half. My dad went to go, patch up the house because he paints, and he made it perfect. They gave me back, I had to put a $6,000 deposit because at the time I couldn't prove like my income. So I had to put a really big deposit for the condo that I was in before my house. And I was like, they're not going to give me back my deposit. I mean, the house was like not like how I had gotten it, But my dad was like, it's okay. Like, we'll put in the new blinds, we'll fix it, and we'll make it look good, and we'll clean it up. And yeah, thankfully, my village helped me, my dad, my family, my friends. They returned me every single penny from that house.
That's beautiful.
So that's kind of how I started the year. I was like, guys, I manifested this. Like, I wanted this, and I claimed it as mine. I just needed to go out and get it, And then since then, I've just been posting that kind of stuff that, like, you know what? Like, if you want it, it's already yours. You just have to go and get it.
Yeah.
I say, if I want it, it's already mine. If I want it, it's already mine. And people even like have been kind of reposting like that phrase, or they'll tag me and be like, I'm like Darcy right now. And I'm just like, yes, dude, like you can have your dream life, you know? Like I just kept saying like everything that I've always wanted to do, I started doing it. And I just stopped putting excuses and started taking control of my life, and stopped being the victim. And it's like, okay, yes, these are my circumstances, but if I can't control it, I'm going to let it go. And what can I do? That kind of became a mentality, and the game changer mentality of like, what can I do? Well, what can I do? Yeah. If I can't have this, then what can I do with my circumstance? And I just kind of started like going like little by little, okay, in every aspect of my life, mentally, emotionally, every day listening to a podcast, meanwhile I'm cleaning, meanwhile I'm driving, meanwhile I'm in the bathroom, meanwhile like just like trying to constantly make myself better, because I was like, I'm exactly where I am because I want to be. And I'm like, and if I don't like where I am, then I need to make a change. And change starts with myself. It starts with my mentality, and it starts with my surroundings. So that's when I started making my circle a lot smaller. Yeah. That's when I started being more intentional with my time, and being more intentional with spending time with my daughter and taking her, making the most magical experience that I can for her. I'm like, okay, maybe, her family is not together, but she's always going to remember having fun with mommy, taking her to SeaWorld, taking her to Disneyland, taking her to the water parks, to Sesame Plate, you know what I mean? Like anything to the park, like to her going to get an ice cream, like anything that I can do to make it magical for her. It's like, it's done with an intention, and I'm telling myself I'm present right now. I'm not on my phone right now. I'm not responding to emails of business or whatever it is. It can wait, give her an hour of your time fully like present. And it's like just taking that day by day, trying to find the will instead of excuses has been just life-changing. And I leave that all to ayahuasca and to my chakra reading that literally saved me. But the craziest part about my stomach, before I got my dream place, it's a rental, by the way, but I wanted that place so bad. And I said, okay, I got rid of my down payment, but I'm going to get it back, and I'm going to work even harder to get that. I went to the doctor again because I had that excruciating pain, and then this time I went with my, your primary? Yeah. My primary care doctor. My primary care doctor And I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm experiencing this pain. It really hurts. And this is like the air, whatever. And then she started like panicking for me. She thought that I had no cervical cancer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? And I was like, the lady from the chakra literally just told me that if I didn't take care of my stress, I would do this to myself.
Right.
Because I think maybe like 2 or 3 weeks had passed since then. And I was like, no, this can't be. And she gave me like this like really strong medicine. She's like, I need you to take this right now. Like, she started panicking. Wow. And I was like, for a doctor to panic, usually they're like, you're fine, take some Tylenol, you're okay, we'll send you the results. And like, she's like, oh, it could be up to 19 days for you to hear from us. And she's like, if you don't hear from us, then that means it's good and like you're fine. But if you hear from us, then it's bad. And then that week, my family, one of my aunts that has been a cancer survivor 2 times already, she messages us and she's like, hey, she's like, girls, I've been really wanting to get together. This is probably like the first time like that we ever get together as like women. And she's like, you know, I really want to see you girls. Like, let's have a little gathering. So then we got together, and I just remember like arriving like in shambles because I had been like worried every day, like if I have cervical cancer, and having cervical cancer means like if you're already like at the first stages, or if you're getting it like too late, then they would have to remove your cervix, meaning that you can't have any more kids. Wow. And that just like destroyed me because I was like, my dream of having my family, I want another baby. And my friend was like, you know what, you can't be worrying about that right now. She's like, you need to worry about being healthy. You need to survive this. She's like, your baby needs you. If not you, who? Yeah. She's like, who's going to take care of your baby better than you? Nobody. She's like, you need to be better. She's like, if they have to remove your cervix for you to be alive, then that's how it's going to be. And I was just like, I wasn't very happy about that, but I was like, you're right. You know, like if that's not something that I can control. And if that's how it's going to be, then at least I'm going to be grateful that I'm healthy and that I'm going to be here to be a good mom to my daughter. And thankfully it's not her. Yeah. So I kind of waited. They called me and I was like, holy fuck. But before they called me, I went to the gathering and I talked to my aunt, and at the end I was like, we were saying our prayer, and I said, can I say something? And I was like, again, I'm not very good with my feelings, but I was like, can we pray for me? And I was like, I think like, you know, that I have cervical cancer. My doctor was like very concerned for me too. I've been having a lot of pain and all this stuff. And like, can you please pray for me? And I just kind of like broke down. Like I was just like helpless at that point. Like literally like one thing after another. It kind of felt like that, you know? And my aunt comes to me and we pray, and it's like, absolutely, you're healthy, you're cured, not like you're safe, you know, like you're gonna be here for a very long time, you're gonna take care of your daughter. And then at the end, my aunt pulls me over, the one that had cancer, and she could barely even talk. She had just had in her thyroid removed or something here. She has a hole in her throat. And I would just look at her and I was just like admiring, like in awe, like how peaceful and how happy she was, even though she just fought cancer twice. Right. She's a cancer survivor. And I'm like, just so jealous. I'm like, how are you just okay? I'm like, I'm in shambles and I don't even know what's going on with me. She's like, Mija, she's like, that's not your truth. And that's where I got that from, about it's not my truth. And this was before I learned I had PTSD. She's like, it's not your truth. She's like, even if the doctor tells you, even if she thinks that you have that, she's like, you don't have it. You don't have it. She's like, even if they tell you you have it, you don't have it. It's not your truth. And it just like it hit me like to the core. I was like, it's not my truth. And I was like, I'm not going to accept it. And she's like, you know how many miracles happen? When we heard about my aunt, actually, they weren't expecting her to be able to survive the surgery because it was too close to I don't know what, and it was like very delicate. And they said that they tried to remove everything. Wow. So meaning that there could still be something there. And it's just like, honestly, I kind of had like a doubt, like if she would even make it. And she's thriving, you know? And I'm just like, she didn't accept that as her truth. And she said, no matter what, I'm going to fight, you know? Yeah. And I said, okay, I'm willing to put up a fight. Well, I got a call a few days later and I was like, holy moly, they're calling me and it hasn't been, you know, they say that it's bad if they call you. Right. And I had called like a couple days before, and I was like, hey, do you guys have the results yet? No, if we don't call you or whatever. And then so they finally did, and they did call me, and I was like, holy moly, I do have it. And I was just like crying, like answering the phone call, and they're like, you know what? The doctor called me. Doctors don't call you. Their assistants call you. The doctor took the time to call me, and she's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that an illness that I used to have that has no cure, I didn't have it anymore.
Wow.
And it was like, I was like, whoo. I started crying. I was like, are you kidding me? Because that illness that I knew that I did have, I knew that it could develop into cancer, and that I had to be screening myself all the time to make sure that it didn't grow, and I caught it before it actually turned into cancer. So I was like blaming myself. I was like, oh, like I did this to myself. I didn't get checked sooner, or like whatever it is. And she's like, you don't have it anymore. And I was like, what? And I was just like, so like, I was at a loss for words. And I was like, but there's no cure. There's no cure. Like, what do you mean I don't have it? It's positive. Like, she's like, no. She's like, your everything else came out negative. You're fine. Like, you don't have anything. And like, like maybe it's just like stress or something. And like literally the same thing that from my chakra reading, it's like stress. And I was like, I'm doing this to myself. Like, and I just like took it as like a second chance at life.
Wow.
That was like my last part of like, Darcy, like, what else do you need? Your family is passing away. Like, you're at rock bottom. You're about to like come to your last dollar. And like, what more do you need to have your wake up call? Like, get it together. You having a second chance at life. And that was like probably the craziest story to this day. Just like a miracle happened, a real miracle. And I was like, I literally was given a second chance at life. So now, if you're going to ask me, like, how do you view your life, or how have you changed? It's like, life's a gift, and no matter how hard it gets, it's like, it's a gift. And if you can share your story, and that's why I say, you know what, I'm afraid, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. About my PTSD, about my traumas, about things that I've been through, and I have no problem. Like, if girls want to DM me or whatever it is, if they can relate to something that I've been through, I'm more than happy to talk about it, because I'm like, no viví esto en vano si lo comparto.
Exactly.
And I will only regret not talking about things when I know that there are other women, or there are other people experiencing something similar to what I've been through. And I keep it to myself, trying to have a picture perfect life, so now I see it as like a mission to share my story and to talk to other people. And it's like, hey guys, like, this experience like saved me truly. And it's like, I tell them, whenever you're ready, I will take you to ayahuasca. That's all that I tell them, because everybody in their divine time will be open to it, but they have to be open to receive. It's just kind of like therapy. Like, if you're coming in with a closed mind and a closed heart, then it's not going to work for you. You're just going to waste your time and your money. But you'll know when you're ready. You'll know when you're ready to take control of your life, when you're just like, enough is enough in my life, and I want to be better. Like, we didn't come here to be miserable. And now it's just like, any person that I see, you know what, like, hey, like, this really worked for me, and like, it's something that I'm super thankful for. If you want to look into it, or you're ever open to it, and you feel like you're ready, I'll be more than happy to take you, know. And some people are just like, okay, or like, that sounds really cool, like, I'm really open to it. And it's just like I say, if you don't set a date, it never happens. So I'm just like, I see people's intentions, and I know exactly when they're trying to actually make a change in their life. So I'm just like, I'm here if you need me, and just use me as like, my test is my testimony, and that's the greatest thing that I can bring to this world. I'm like, if I help one person, then I've served my purpose, and I didn't go through these horrible things for nothing. It's like, I'm able to help people and tell them, like, you're not alone, and I know exactly what you're going through, and I'm here for you.
And you know what, man, you freaking killed it. And that's
I feel like I talk so much.
No, but you know what,
I'm like so passionate about it. It's just so magical. And like I say, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that I'm here. This year I almost lost my life again, like, horrible, and that's where I developed the PTSD. But it's just like, we're given so many chances, and you have to see it as something good that happened for you. And I'm so thankful because I really changed my perspective again, and just kind of like, you know, you're on the right path and you have a lot of people to help along the way, and they need you. You know, we're all struggling.
Yeah, exactly. Life is hard. Life is not easy. But you pretty much said everything that I stand for, right? If I can help at least one person through this platform, and bring in more people like yourself right now sharing your story, especially dealing with or having to do with ayahuasca, the more people that are aware of plant medicine, and they try it and they also can change their life, then I feel like my mission here is done, right?
I love that you have that. You know, when I saw you mention, I think it was your podcast with Marianne, that you had mentioned something about ayahuasca, and I think she said she hadn't tried it yet. But I was like, oh, they're talking about ayahuasca, and I was like, you know, you feel like you're not alone, like you're not the only person that's experienced it, and just being able to talk to somebody else that's like gone through something that you have, it's just kind of like makes the connection a lot more like real, and again, you feel like you're not alone.
Yeah, definitely. Man, Darcy, you need to get into podcasting. You need to, honestly.
Just don't stop talking, girl.
And your story, man, you have so much knowledge.
Thank you.
And you've gone through so many different lessons, life lessons in general, that you have so much value to provide to people. You know, so, babe, and anything that maybe she hasn't touched on, or?
No, I feel like she touched on a lot of topics.
Yeah. I have so much to say. I'm like, especially when it comes to helping people, I'm just like, I'm nothing without, you know, you guys and people that follow me. And it's just like, if I can help you or you're ready to receive help, like I'm here, you know? Yeah.
Any final message? I would love for you to come again and share just some more knowledge, or if you start your own, we can help you out with whatever you need.
Work together, my man. Collaboration.
Any final message?
I would be so honored. I mean, there's so many things. One of the biggest things that I've been really kind of like holding true to this season of my life is just kind of becoming self-aware of, you know, about your traumas or the things that you've been through in your childhood. And like, if you were to ask me, like, you know, how was your childhood? I would say it was amazing. It was great. Like, but actually, it's like when you actually see your patterns and your behaviors and your choices and your relationships and who you're attracted to and who you call your soulmates, they're truly a reflection of you in your childhood. And once I become self-aware, and that took me out of my victim mentality, like, hey, Darcy, like, you have these patterns of friendships and relationships and patterns of things that you do in your life because of what you went through in your childhood. And it's like the moment that you become self-aware, that it's like you have this attachment style, you have this like way of trying to please people, or like just all these crazy things, or just not thinking that you're enough, or that you're worthy of being loved and respected and being in a healthy relationship, or just whatever it is. I kind of take that and I'm like, wow, I've been making these choices subconsciously because I wasn't aware. But now that I'm conscious of, you know what, like these patterns have been happening. These patterns like are a reflection of my childhood and me not taking charge and becoming self-aware of like doing the work of healing, you know? I'm going to keep bleeding onto people if I'm not self-aware and I'm not willing to put in the work to heal my childhood traumas up to this day, you know? And that's just been such a game changer. I'm just like, I feel like I've already helped so many women and even men, just becoming self-aware, like in their masculinity and their femininity, and just kind of understanding like where we're meant to be without discrediting the other. Like, you're just as important being a feminine woman as you are a masculine man, you know, that we're not like better than, or whatever it is, and if we're conscious of the choices that we're making and the habits that we've had, so important. You get to take control of your life when you become self-aware. You start being like, okay, I'm not a victim. Oops.
Yeah.
The end is done.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. But anyways,
that one's still rolling. So if you want to finish your last, yeah.
You do the B-roll.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
Just kind of getting out of that victim mentality. It's when you take control and accountability of your life. Yeah. That you partook in the choices that you made and the habits that you've had for several years of your life, and you have the power to change and take control of your life when you're ready to. And it's nobody's fault but yours sometimes.
That's beautiful. Darcy, thank you so much. Honestly, I really hope that we can do a second part because there's so many other questions that I wanted to dive into, right? Yeah. But honestly, our doors are open if you ever want to start your podcast. So if you want to come back again,
hold me accountable for that, please.
Let's do it.
Please don't let me let this dream go. Yeah. I've been wanting to start a podcast for so many years. It's just kind of like taking that initiative and just doing it. Doing it in fear, but doing it anyways.
Well, we're here.
Thank you.
All right. So, by the way, if you guys didn't know, the camera died. That's why we don't have the clip of her, right? But last message, well, as I said, thank you. And like I always like to say, it's a greater risk and not taking a risk. Till next time.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.